I'm Allison Colarossi here with Dr. David Colarossi, and we're here with another episode of Shrink Wrapped.
How are you?
I'm good.
I've missed you and our shrink wrap talks.
Me too.
Where you been?
The parents are in town. My parents are in town.
And they're wonderful people.
They are. Just adds another layer to our onion of life.
Mm-hmm. Can I tell a story about your parents?
Sure.
Let's start off by saying they're wonderful people.
They are good people.
Couldn't be better people.
Mm-hmm. They're your in-laws, so you get to say whatever story you want. And by the way, you're the favorite of the whole family, kids included.
The bar is not high. I'm the nicest of the group.
The bar is high. I'm in it.
You're not so nice.
I'm triggered.
Yeah. Allison, okay. Let me just tell a story about us. So last night we went to go see Shrek the musical.
Yes.
So we're all piled in to our car. So we've got all of us. So there's whatever it is, 6 people in the car driving to go see Shrek the musical. We're in the car, and not for some reason. It's St. Patrick's Day. So your mom was like, I would like to listen to some Gaelic music. And so she's like, play this, whatever, play this, play that, play this. And so like, I'm on Spotify trying to find whatever she wants. And then finally she like pushes and she gets some Celtic, some music.
I'm
right?
not sure what do you do with a drunken sailor?
Yeah, whatever that is.
Or lie in the morning.
Yeah. And then Allison's like, Mom, that is so annoying. Can we please turn that off? And I'm just driving, good son-in-law, just eyes on the road. And then your mom goes, okay, fine, and switches it to something else, which sounds just like, what do you do to a drunken sailor? Like there's no, everything is exactly the same. It's another Celtic, or I don't know if it's Celtic or I don't know what it is, but it's not. But
she's singing along with it, but like 2 beats behind.
And then Allison turns to her and goes, Mom, I've asked you 15 times not to play that music. And she goes, what? It's Celtic. Celtic music is soft. It's so soft. It's just soft. It's a nice soft sound. And then Allison's like, but Mom, I've told you I don't want to listen to it. And then she goes, okay. And then her mom starts going, and starts singing the song, just going a cappella with it. And you were annoyed.
Yes.
And I was thinking, oh my God, that's what I married.
No.
That is so how you are. Yes.
I was making bets with myself not to get triggered by any of the behavior of my parents. And for the most part, I did a good job.
You did. You did. Your mama is wonderful, but I do feel like once she's headed in a direction, it's hard to get her to veer off that track.
Yes. Yeah.
And I know just one other person is like that in my life. I don't know who it is.
Me neither. Who is it?
I don't know. But it's been good.
Yeah, it's been a really good trip. We should talk about how the jiu-jitsu tournament went.
So what piece of it do you want to talk about?
I just feel like it's so fun to watch.
Yeah, I think I posted on Instagram. I posted your Enzo won the jiu-jitsu tournament. Now, to be clear, there was 3 participants, but he won.
Yeah,
and he beat his nemesis, who is this. I don't think we can name the girl, but she's a badass, okay? She's beat him historically. Yeah. And so, he was very nervous. I think he went pee like 15 times before the match. They were all tied up, and at the very end, he did a nice trip, and he won. And Allison is like bellowing enough that her dad is like, Allison, can you please step off the mat? Like Allison is, by the way, everybody else is all polite. They're all polite parents. And
I can't. I am not good. I am not a good sport parent. I don't make friends. I just get very intense.
You're a woman of passion.
I am. Mm-hmm. Unless it's football, because I don't understand it as well. Then I'm like, and then I can like chit chat with other parents.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know if there's much of a story, but Enzo won, which we were excited about.
Yeah.
Lino lost.
He got second place.
He got second place.
He did very well in his second match.
Yeah. Yeah. He had to fight a kid that was like 20 pounds heavier than him. Mm-hmm. They just laid on him. Lena was at the start of the match. They go, okay, Lena, you're going to fight this guy. And Lena goes, he's like sitting right next to me. He goes, he'll be no problem, Dad.
Okay. He said that?
Yes. And then the professor says, the only way you don't get a belt promotion is if you run off the mat crying. And Enzo goes, I'm not going to have any problem with that. Or not Enzo, Lena goes, I won't have any problem with that. And then he goes out there and that kid just lays on him. And Leno's trying to flip him over his shoulder and just gets squashed like a pancake. Then the kid wins. Then Leno's like, you can see Leno go. But he made it off without crying.
He
choked me. He came off the sideline and then he screamed out loud, that kid choked me. That's what he's supposed to do. Actually, technically, he's not in the kid thing. He's not supposed to choke.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have a jam-packed discussion agenda today. What are things that you wanted to talk about?
100%. Well, I have two things. I want to talk about Jodi Hildebrandt and the Ruby Franke thing, but specifically Jodi Hildebrandt. And I'd like a psychologist to give their take on it. I scoured the internet and I just did not find what I was looking for. I'm not kidding you. And then I was like, oh, I need to tell Dave that he needs to talk about Jodi Hildebrandt. What is up with this woman? How does she get all these people to do? She's like a cult leader. How did she do it?
Well, first of all, let me just say that I regret that I didn't. People were writing me about like, you should comment on this, but I was like, I've been operating under the theory that you have to have that my audience needs to have a strong parasocial relationship to be interested in this stuff. So I was like, no one's going to care about this woman that they're not followers of Ruby. So who cares? So I just was like, I'll ignore it. And then you made me look at it and it seems like people are very interested in Ruby Franke.
I went freaking deep. I went deep on Ruby. I've listened to all sorts of podcasts.
Yes.
I'm just not finding what I'm looking for.
Well, guess what? A video is forthcoming.
Okay, but
it's being reviewed right now.
All right, but can we talk about it?
Yeah. What
did you think about the Ruby Franke Jodi Hildebrandt ordeal?
I think that I agree with you that here's what's interesting is I feel like I can't find any psychologist. There's a lot of psychologists commenting on it, psychologists and therapists commenting on it, but nobody is like really weighing in on like why it happened. There's like a lot of here's this shocking thing that we found out in the court case, or here's the impact that this thing might have on kids. But it feels like it's reporting and not a lot of conjecture. And I don't know why people are light on the like guessing at why, like what happened. Because that's what I'm interested in is like, what's the underlying, how does this occur?
Yes.
And the problem is that there's like zero data on either one of them as far as their background. I can't figure out what happened to Jodi to make her so screwed up. And I can't figure out what happened to Ruby to make her so screwed up.
Yeah.
But my suspicion, if you ask me to just say like, what do I think that something bad happened to Jodi. I think that the thing that was bad had to do with men and had to do with sex, porn addiction. I was like looking on Reddit trying to figure out like, I know she's been married once, how many times, what was the story? And, you have people saying she's been married once and divorced once, and you have people saying she's been divorced 5 times. Like it's like I'm on shaky ground as far as what the story is. But I can tell you that in my perception for Jodi, I feel like I do believe that Jodi was the cult leader here, and that Ruby bought into it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that, I'm surprised they got the same. I would be surprised if they served the same sentence. In my opinion, Jodi's sentence should be harsher than Ruby's. I mean, I would send them both away forever, but to me, she's the Charles Manson of the group, and Ruby is the, one of the followers.
Yeah.
I think that, so that's my, I don't know how deep to go because I did a whole video on it.
I have some thoughts.
Okay, let's hear you. What are your thoughts?
Well, so I just I heard her talking early about her research on women's sexuality in the Mormon religion. And she sounded very clear in her thinking. And
who are you talking about?
Jodi Hildebrandt. and I was in, she was trying to build like a self-help empire.
Yes.
Similar to, I would probably to like Tony Robbins or like a Rachel Hollis. And I feel like I was buying into Rachel Hollis. And so like, I feel like if you start believing what people are saying, like maybe you just like keep buying in, like it's little by little, like a lobster in a pot. You just keep turning up the heat. So they think they're in a jacuzzi and then they all of a sudden boil. I think that's what happened.
I think that's a frog in a pot.
Oh.
That's a messed up thing I don't know why. When you cook a lobster, you boil the water and then you just throw it in there and you kill it instantly. And with frogs, you slow boil them. And I just didn't think until you said that. And I was like, no, it's a frog you slow boil. And I was like, it's kind of fucked up for the frog. Why don't you?
The whole thing. But I wonder if
the frog will jump out, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
You have to think it's yes.
Go ahead.
But I think that's what happened with Ruby Franke. She was just like wanting more, wanting a better life. And also I feel like she was like borderline abusive already, and that was coming out. And I think Jodi Hildebrandt validated her parenting practices. And
I don't know because we don't have the background, but my guess would be that Ruby grew up in a very religious household with domineering parents, and that I think her whole identity, like what made her successful in life, was her ability to follow the law, the religious law. And I think that her faith is one that can be ruthless. And, I think that there is in that kind of world. Let me make a quick departure and just sort of say, read the book from Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton, went to one of those wilderness camps, I think maybe even the same camp that Ruby sent her son to, right? And Paris Hilton's like, those camps are totally abusive. There's been kids that were killed there. There's this like total underbelly of this world of camps and immersive experiences for kids where you, instead of trying to empower kids and tell them, you can be anything, what you do is you say, hey, you have this bad behavior, so I'm going to psychologically destroy you so that you submit and you acknowledge what a worthless piece of shit you are, and then you live this sort of submissive life that is free of sin. That's sort of the philosophical approach to it. So Paris Hilton was talking about like they would get the kids in circles and they would just verbally abuse them to the point of tears to the point of breaking them down. And then they would support them and say, you can be good, but like right now you're bad. And it's like it's like the opposite of any kind of reasonable best practice as far as parenting. But and I think that was probably how Ruby grew up. I think that was part of Ruby's faith, or at least her parents' faith, how they understood it. And so I think you create this woman who only values rules as like how you can be successful. Like this is what you're supposed to do to maximize your potential. And underneath that is a quivering, insecure little girl. And so you've got her, going online and posting all these videos about what a great parent she is, but underneath that, she has no sense of agency, no sense of agency, no sense of self, no identity. And I think I think that's what we saw her coming across like she was confident, but beneath that, not at all. And I think that made her ripe for the picking for somebody like Jodi, who I think had more agency. I think she was she had some clinical issues, but she was domineering and strong and empowering. And so I think you saw Jodi with no sense of self, like being attracted to that pillar of strength and then submitting to Jodi and and then sort of jumping over that line from strict parenting, mildly abusive parenting to horrifically abusive parenting. But I think that Jodi felt like what she was doing was good for the kids. I think I think in those moments she actually thought that she was adding value. I don't believe that Jodi thought that. I think Jodi was getting off on the power of being able to control the kids and being able to control Ruby. What do you think?
I have an opposing view.
Oh, do share?
So I think that Ruby Franke was a narcissist, which is why she was documenting her life, everything. Yes. She thought everyone wanted to see her life, and it was validated because she had 3 million followers. And
yes.
Everything in her life was documented and validated, basically, which only contributed to her feelings of grandeur. And then when she started making hiccups in her parenting online, like people started criticizing her, and she got a narcissistic injury.
Interesting. Yes.
And so she shut the whole operation down, and she went to the person that validated her, which was Jodi Hildebrandt. And I believe Jodi Hildebrandt was using Ruby Franke for her followers because she was trying to build an empire. And so that is where I'm at. And so Ruby was looking for someone to validate her and her narcissism. And
I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think I can't make any diagnoses. Can't diagnose from afar.
Me neither. And I don't know I don't fully understand what a narcissist is.
But in the video I just put out, agree with the narcissist diagnosis, or at least as far as what we see, somebody like her would, I think, meet that diagnostic criteria. Where I think we differ, but I'm not sure I disagree with you. I think you might be right. Is I didn't think about her aligning with Jodi because Jodi was scratching the narcissist. I didn't think about her running from YouTube because of the criticism. My perception was that she got kicked off of YouTube.
No, she ran from it because of the criticism. And people were calling. She got child services called on her a few times.
So didn't YouTube shut down her channel?
Not till later. Not till more of the Jodi Hildebrandt stuff came out, when she was arrested and stuff.
I think that you might be right. I don't disagree with anything you said. I think that she...
before the actual, before the abuse that was captured, we never really saw it, but when she was saying my 6-year-old should have packed their lunch,
yes.
And I'm sorry, the teacher is uncomfortable, just very unaware of a 6-year-old, showing concern of most 6-year-olds still need naps, showing no concern for her 6-year-old not having a lunch at school, just cold.
So what do you? Okay, so you view her. You think that she was cold as a mother before Jodi.
Yeah, I mean
baseline cold.
Baseline cold. And just needing to show her power as a parent all the time. And I was not a follower of her, so this is me going. I've only seen a few of her videos and. Obviously they've been picked, but some of the things that she would do to show her power was gross. And those camps that you were just talking about, those are our generation. I remember my friends getting sent to those camps, and I was just watching a documentary about one of those. It's some school where people just basically were sent to be abused.
Yeah, they're still. I mean, she sent her son to a camp that still exists. I was doing research on it last night. Now they all. I don't know if in principle, the idea of taking your kid out of a sick system and having them commune with nature, and I don't know if that's necessarily a bad idea. So I feel I'm reticent to say all of those wilderness camps are bad because they may not all be bad.
Yeah, that's true.
I think there's just enough that, and I wish I knew. I might do another video on it, but there's enough, especially if you read the Paris Hilton book. I mean, it is, and she has a whole series on it on YouTube. It is horrific how they treated the kids. sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and repeated. And she went to like 3 or 4 different schools and experienced it. And then she dug up all this research of kids dying, kids being, really, really screwed up from the experience. And there's this religious underpinning to it. And so I don't know if that's the kind of camp that Ruby sent her kid to. And I don't know if Ruby was aware of that dynamic there, but when I look at what I think I understand about those kinds of camps, and then I hear Ruby's parenting style, it sounds very similar to me. The same language, this whole idea of submission is like the through line. We will abuse, we will mistreat, we will attack you until you submit. I was looking at Jodi's. Jodi had her niece live with her, who she abused, right? And the niece would, talk about having to run away, and she's putting duct tape on her mouth to remind her that she's a liar. This whole idea of we want you to understand how terrible you are so that you have no sense of self-esteem at all, no sense of personal agency. We're going to break you down, and then you'll be a good person again.
So I think this is the question that I have.
Yes.
What Jodi did is horrific. Like what she did to her niece, and that the idea that her parents sent her there. And I just want to know, like, why? Like, something happened to Jodi where she feels like she needs to abuse everyone around her. She had so much power. Like, she would take people, like men, and say that they were addicted to porn. They were like victims of pedophilia, and instead of like putting them in a victims group, she'd put them in a perpetrator group and say, well, you don't do this behavior yet, but you will. So like how does she have a license? And it happened over and over again.
Well, she did have her license put on hold.
She had to she volunteered that. That wasn't the state of Utah. I thought she volunteered that.
Most recently, she volunteered it, but was going to be taken. But in the past, she's had it pulled for going. She went to. She had a client. I believe this is the story. She was doing marriage counseling and working with a guy as part of the marriage, and then went and told his church and his employer that he had some kind of pornography addiction, and then he lost his job. And then he sued her. And so
what is why would she feel so invested to do that?
That's, again, I don't know what happened, but I would bet something deeply traumatic happened to her at the hands of a man, and something that made her feel like she had no power. And I think that her approach to life after that point was about getting power over men. I think that was the driver, getting power over influential people. So I think she used Ruby for the views. I agree with that. And I think she got off on the fact that she was able to control and harness this super successful YouTuber. I think she got off on the fact that she could ruin the lives of men. I think everything for Jodi was about power, because she lost it at some point earlier in her life.
Oh, I have so many questions. The other question I have is this dad that was part of the YouTube channel. I can't remember his name. Kevin Franke. Like, he didn't see his kids for a year and he was fine with that, and they all lived in Utah. Something's up with that too. Why is it that the older kids are calling social services on the parents? Nothing's happening. Where is Kevin Franke? Where is he?
I don't know.
That bugs me. Where were you, dude? God.
I don't know.
You have 6 kids and you're like, I have a great relationship. I haven't seen them for a year.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot of information about that. There's, for as much media coverage as it got, there's not any information. Like, why do we not know anything about Jodi's childhood?
Maybe Netflix is coming out with a special.
Yeah. But right? Do you agree? I mean, you did a deep dive. I spent a lot of time trying to figure. I mean, I don't go on Reddit for info. I'm like looking on Reddit for information. I can't figure out what something happened to Jodi.
I can't figure it out. Yeah. And I even listened to Nancy Grace. And she had no tolerance for Kevin, but that's all she said. Where was he?
Yeah. What did you think about how they showed up when they were in court? Did you look at the sort of behavior in court, Jodi versus Franke?
No, but I'd like to hear what you have to say. I don't think I know. I just was listening to stuff.
There's two things I thought were in. I have a couple of thoughts. So one is I did watch Ruby's YouTube videos or some of the YouTube videos, and I was convinced that she thought that she had good relationship with her kids. I didn't think she was cold. Even though she was mistreating her kids, I think in her mind, this was positive parenting. Mm-hmm. And then when she was in court, she was tearful and she said, look, I'm not trying to get a shorter sentence. I was, I was whatever, under this lady's spell. I'm sorry. I took from you, that what was right. And I made it wrong and awful. And she was
she asked for a jail
submissive.
Sentence. Yeah.
Yeah. She's very submissive. Comparatively, I felt like the global stance of Jodi was obstinate, stoic, disconnected. I think my sense is that if you were to ask her, what do you think of all this? I think that Jodi would think these people are all stupid. I'm right. Those kids needed that. Like I didn't sense any sense of remorse at all. And so that's why I would put Jodi in the antisocial bucket. Again, I can't diagnose someone like that. More in the antisocial bucket, like just ruthless, cold. I think she was out to hurt. Whereas I think that Ruby was lost.
It's weird that she didn't do it to the same teenagers. She only did it to the littles. Like she took Christmas. Her and Kevin took Christmas away from the little kids. And I
didn't know they did that.
Oh my God, yeah. She did it. She did a YouTube about it when they were 5 and 6 or something, 6 and 7. They're like, Santa's going to bring everybody else presents but you two. She hated those two little kids. And so
Ruby. I didn't see that YouTube video.
And so I feel like she allowed, it seems like she didn't like those two, her youngest. And so she just allowed Jodi to do her will with them.
So yeah, I did not get the sense.
The older ones, she didn't do that too. And so But
hold on. But when she was doing things like removing Christmas, was she under the influence of Jodi?
I don't think we know when. I don't think we know when, because when Jodi entered the picture.
Well, she hired Jodi to help counsel her oldest. Which, by the way, is super unethical for Jodi to counsel the oldest, then be hired as her mentor, and then go into partnership with her. So effectively, it would be like me having a patient and then turning to the mom and saying, let's be business partners.
What's her, oh God, it's all so bad. Does she even have, they keep calling her a mental fitness coach. What is her does she have a degree in counseling psychology?
Ruby's nothing.
No. But Jodi Hildebrandt, is she an MFT? What is she?
Yeah, not an MFT, but she is the equivalent.
Okay.
She's a master's level counselor. It's there's different states have different, I have a marriage and family therapy degree from California. In Colorado, you can be an LPC, a licensed professional counselor. And in Utah, it's
something similar.
What she has is a legit degree, but what she was practicing was miles away from appropriate care. That is, as the judge, when the judge was sentencing her, he said, not only was that not a best practice, not only did you not operate in alignment with your education or schooling, but you didn't even align with logic or what intuitively makes sense. This is so far outside of normal clinical treatment, what Jodi was offering.
And she used her position. What bothers me is she used a position of power to really hurt others.
Yes.
Like what she did to those kids is just. I spent a whole day enraged about it, and then I couldn't find a psychologist talking about it. So
there's a lot of but I don't know why. Yeah, it's like light on.
They're not giving me what I
conjecture.
need, Dave.
Yes. Did I give you what you needed? What more do you need? Or you need more definitive? Here's why.
Yeah, just
I think I told you.
And how do I get her back? Is what.
How do you punish her?
I want to put cayenne pepper in your wounds. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
crazy
I just feel like it was so awful, and I feel so bad for those kids. Just like the damage. I hope that they can love themselves after that, because not only did Jodi do that and make them feel so horrible about who they were, that they were causing their own pain basically, but now because of it, their mom's in jail. Like, the whole thing is so screwed up thanks to Jodi.
The real question is, would you give custody back to Kevin?
No.
I would not either.
I want to know where he was.
I would not. I mean,
my waitress said I went out to lunch with my parents, and she overheard us talking about it yesterday. Yeah. And the waitress said he was with his rebound. Duh. And then walked away. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I didn't talk about him, but I would not give him custody back. He's fighting for custody now. But I would not give it back to him.
Where were you?
Yeah. But I do feel so.
Please speak out and let us know, because at the moment we don't like you. And he was complicit. He took Christmas away from his littles too. Kevin and I feel very sorrowful. That was like what they were saying, that we need to take Christmas from you because of your behavior. I'm like, oh.
But the kids never seemed. Yeah, it was an interesting dynamic.
There's not enough information about what the teachers are saying. Like that will all come out in a special, I think.
Yeah,
we should do that documentary.
We will. I think the Child Protective Service, I feel bad for Child Protective Services, because whenever one of these big stories comes out, they look like they have been hyper negligent. Every time. Like, what was the one, Gabriel
Hernandez? Oh God, they were.
And they just keep. But I've talked to them before and found them, like when I used to do clinical work, where they were exceptionally vigilant.
I think there's good and bad, and when you're bad, there's cracks. But it wasn't like they didn't get called on more than once. And when your oldest adult daughter is calling, then you need to do a checkup.
Yeah.
Like, where are my siblings? Like, someone do a checkup.
Yeah.
It just gets me heated, David. I'm mad.
I don't know much what to say.
I know. I wish I could be like you and it just rolls off. That stuff doesn't roll off very well for me.
I don't know what to tell you. I feel confident in the assessment of Jodi. Like I feel like that something happened. I don't know what happened. Like I think something traumatic. I think something related to sex. I think something related to men happened to Jodi. I don't know what the dynamic. I mean, I have guesses about Ruby's upbringing, but I don't know.
It's weird because Ruby's sister, all knew stuff was going on, but they didn't stop it.
Well, do you know what they all do?
Vlog as well.
3 sisters, all are parenting influencers.
They are, but they turn their head on their sister.
How weird? Turn their what?
They didn't agree with what Ruby was doing, but they never said anything.
Well, they didn't speak out and they didn't even really speak out after she got arrested. I didn't feel like I wasn't impressed with the one tearful apology. I mean, I just think that it's a
Why
weird
do people
dynamic.
not take a stand when bad things are happening? Take a stand. God, I don't like when people don't.
Anything else you want to talk about? Did that scratch your Ruby Franke itch?
No, I need to see the video when it comes out. When yours comes out, I want to see it.
I think it'll be up tomorrow or the next day.
Okay, it's taking too long. I really need a psychologist to help me.
Okay. Okay. Well, now I hope it meets your needs.
If it doesn't, you'll have to do another one.
I'll just go in there like, my last video wasn't good enough. Allison wants another video.
Yeah. Also, we're 2 weeks post Garrison's passing, and the family is like kind of coming back to life. And I heard Madison today, and she was, tearful, but talking about how she really wants to, focus on how social media is not real and how it's affecting the mental health of young people, like including Garrison. And I mean, I agree with it because when I look on social media, everyone's having more fun than me. Mm-hmm. And so I just was wondering what your thoughts were on that.
I didn't see the post from Madison. She said that she thinks that social media
played a role.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, people just see you only see their highlight reels, and I'm going to quit doing filters. I'm going to be more transparent.
Uh-huh. I agree. I mean, nobody knows what was going on for him, but I think Madison's, that's not new, right? Mm-hmm. I think social media is super damaging. I think social media is super damaging, especially if you're not operating from a place of stability. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If you're already not feeling good about yourself or your circumstance and you turn on social media, I think it can be a nightmare.
Yeah.
And he was definitely, just based on what we've heard as far as the drinking and what we know about the family dynamics, like he was coping with a lot. I'm sure social media wasn't great for him.
Yeah.
Do you think, is your perception, it's funny, I've my stance has been, oh my God, I would stop this show immediately. I wouldn't do another season. That seems to be sort of like the chorus that I'm hearing. But what I've also heard is people say that the show played a role, they think, in his depression. Do you think that the audience of Sister Wives, like watching Sister Wives, are we culpable? I don't know if we're culpable, but is the show at some level culpable for his distress, in your opinion?
Probably. Everything in his life has been documented. Mm-hmm. And, they aren't allowed to have private family arguments. Like Cody, unfortunately, didn't have conflict face to face with his kids. Mm-hmm. He had conflict. He shared his feelings with his audience, but not with his kids. Mm-hmm. So I think, yes, it played a huge role. Like Cody had this, he got a special room where he got to tell the world how he felt about his kids, and it wasn't nice. And so, yeah, I do. Like in normal worlds, you don't get to do that. You don't get to see that. Like Mary doesn't get to see that her husband doesn't love her in front of millions of people.
Yeah. But so if I think about, you've watched more of the show than I have, but if I think about, though, I'm trying to just be objectively look at, this idea of kids on TV shows, that it always ends bad. And I look at it and I go, I'm just trying to figure out what's the mechanism behind that. I understand the mechanism behind, has the show been good for Cody's mental health? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. Right? Because he's been the driver, he's been scrutinized, he's been embarrassed, he's been shamed publicly, right? Mm-hmm. I think for Robin, she's been scrutinized, embarrassed, shamed, public. Like her life has been on the big screen and it's been viewed very negatively. And then I was thinking about, and I sort of default to the same thing. Like all those kids have been, objectified. They are characters in this show, and maybe that feels really shitty to them. And then I was thinking, all right, if the show didn't exist and Cody married Robin, I think this is why the show is interesting, is it feels like the family operates like it would normally operate. Like I'm trying to think of is there conflict? Did the kids, did Garrison and Gabe experience distress differently or because of the show? I think that Cody would have responded the same way to COVID, whether or not it was on TV. And I'm wondering, I'm going, okay, well, what they did receive was a tremendous amount of support from the online community. Gabe and Garrison were unanimously supported in the conflict with their father. They got positive feedback. Like they got, do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I wonder if you're being emotionally abused by your father, I would think that it would be helpful to have outside people go, hey, that's bullshit what just happened to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that they got, so I'm just like, I know that the sort of their natural reaction is this is a disaster and we should never film kids. And then I'm trying to think of like, how did the fandom treat those kids? And was it, you know what I mean? Was it bad for them or not?
I think that's a good point. And I would always like to have a fan base listening to arguments that agree with me.
Yes, you seem like you've harnessed that somehow. Yes.
But like I think about, there was one video you posted and it was with like Gabriel just with a really sad face.
Yeah.
And like that, even though he's supported, like that's like he wasn't allowed to grieve the relationship of his father without like people posting about it,
Right.
And I just feel like that's sad.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's true. I
hope
he watched that video though.
You hope he did?
Yeah. I mean, I think the video I made about Gabe was made for Gabe. Mm-hmm. Like I mean, I'm just thinking about my own, it's not about me, but I think my own, if I reflect on what the content that I produced about those kids, and I think most creators were this way, I wanted Gabe to know that what he was experiencing was not his responsibility. That's what the video was about Gabe being able to judge, is this fair what I'm experiencing or not? You know what I mean? And so I think, I hear you. Yeah. The whole world got to see him cry. And then I also think like, man, is that better? Like, how does that compare to crying alone and thinking nobody knows? Like if the world didn't see that, then Gabe's by himself.
Yeah.
With that same father. You know what I mean?
It's true. So I think there's good and bad. Like the other thing I was thinking about is like we are able to go through like our awkward moments of elementary and junior high and high school like without cameras. They have to revisit those.
That's true.
Ugh. I would hate that.
That part. Yeah, it's funny. I was watching it. I don't know what the guy's name is, but from Nickelodeon. He's like this super heavy producer of like old Nickelodeon shows. And there's a clip of, and Amanda, they're talking about like what happened to Amanda Bynes, who was a child star. And I think like it is an incredible ratio of like percentage of kids that are like find success like that, the spotlight like that, and then it turning out bad. Mm-hmm. There's definitely that pattern. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But I've been thinking a lot about that. I've been thinking about the videos that I made and like how were those perceived by the family, right? Because when you make the video, I think it's easy to be just focused on, is this going to get clicks? Do people care about this? But to also have,
I feel like we were big supporters of the family globally.
If it had been Cody, I would have felt very bad.
Yeah.
Like I would have felt culpable at some level.
Oh, because we weren't nice about Cody.
I think we were ruthless.
I think we were, but we were trying to help him. Like we wanted him to be like, can you step it up and be like, I felt like that's what we were doing. Like, stop it, step up, like go deal with your family. Go deal with your kids.
The last thing I want to talk about just really, really briefly is some of the family have been posting, and I think for the lion's share of it has been really positive. And then Mary did a Fridays with Friends that she does. Mm-hmm. And it was, I only watched the first quarter of it. But I was looking through the comments and people were just sort of attacking her because, and I felt the same way where I saw her and she was like really chipper, acting like it was a normal Fridays with Friends with Jen, Mm-hmm. And, I saw it and I was like, oh, feels too soon. And I think that's I just want to sort of reiterate that response, the response that I had, and I think the response that the people in the comments had is a mistake. Mary has to work through this in her own way, and that will mean moments of intense grief and also moments where she can try and live a normal life. And it is not our role, it's not anybody's role to start judging what she can put out there and what she can't put out there and how happy she can be and how happy she can't be and can she go to the beach or not go to the beach. There's so much judgment of her because she did this Fridays with Friends where she seemed like she was happy. And I just sort of want to say, you don't know if before that she was vomiting with grief and then filming that video and then vomiting with grief after that. We really have to back off the judgment of how they're showing up now.
Yeah, that's really annoying that people did that.
But even I did it. I saw it and I was like, oh, you can't. Even I've talked about, my initial reaction was, this is too happy. And it's like, David, who the fuck are you to judge?
Just to be performative for others?
Right. But I caught myself doing it and I was thinking I wanted to say here, we cannot.
You gotta grieve the way you need to grieve.
Yeah.
Your feelings.
Yeah. We gotta dial down the judgment dramatically.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, that was a chipper episode. Good talking with you. Love you.
Love you.
All right. Bye.